So tonight I'm getting ready to do an event at Rattlestick Theater Company called New Songs Now. And it's a night of new music that's meant to be really fun, casual, really low-key, giving me, the artist, a chance to just try out material in front of people. And it's one of my favorite ways of working, is just to kind of throw things out there and see how they land, and then I can sort of shape them with an audience, with people in the room. It's one of my favorite ways to work, so I'm excited that I get to do that.
Next up, we're going to have Jillian Walker. And Jillian, if you don't know her show Skip Folk, you certainly should. Maybe we'll hear some of it today, I don't know. And Jillian's also an MTF maker, so that's how I got to know Jillian's work. And you can actually see more of her work next week at Ars Nova. When is it? What date? Tuesday. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, so please come to that as well. Are we ready to go? Yeah. Awesome. Great.
And I felt the way winding rough, so I pulled enforcements right up. Then I thought my love would be enough, and now the crevasse deepens trust.
I am a spirit-driven artist, and I think what I mean by that is that I'm really guided by what my soul is calling for me to do and pushing for me to do, and I've done a lot of years of inner work to figure out what my soul sounds like and how it speaks to me so that I could follow it. So yeah, I'm the kind of artist who does what her soul asks of her, even when it's really hard or not necessarily what I want, but it's always in the interest of my growth and evolution as a person. And I think that I'm also the kind of artist that's really interested in inspiring other artists and leading by example. So I think that that's another thing that sort of really constantly connects me back to soul and spirit driven work. So happens to be right now that my soul is like, sing, bring music forward, and I'm answering that call, even though I feel very shy actually about my music, my own music that I write. So this is my instrument of comfort. My purpose as a performing artist is to heal through my work, starting with myself first and foremost, always, but also to share what I'm researching and developing about my healing with others. And that's the word that I always come back to. I think the other one that's been coming up a lot for me is to remember, like literally to remember, to like put the pieces back together that have been lost along the way in different at different times in my life for different reasons. And I think that remembrance of self and also remembrance of others, like ancestors, come up a lot in my work, in my songs, and in my plays, and I think that it has a lot to do with the importance of remembering who we are, and the resilience and the complications and all of the messiness of humanity. That's what I feel like my purpose is, to try to bring that forward in the work that I do.
So songs also come to me a lot from my ancestors and for my ancestors. So I think no coincidence that Ron was talking about her aunts who are with us as are my ancestors. And I wrote a show called Songs of Speculation, and it's sort of, in some ways, about Sally Hemings, and really bringing her memory forward. A few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, her bedroom was discovered at Monticello. It used to be a bathroom for tourists, and it's being restored currently. I think it's finished. Anyway, she makes an appearance in this song, as well as some folks from downtown. I think that's all I'll say. And not letting them They are popping out of old walls and from under seemingly sturdy sidewalks. They are transforming tourist bathrooms into their own monuments and not letting us forget they built the wall on Wall Street.
Well, yes, I definitely have a process. I have spent a lot of time trying to name it, identifying it, and giving language to it so that I can feel less like something's wrong when actually the process is doing what it's doing. So how my process works is that I start to, when I have an idea or I've been given, let's say, a place like tonight, like Rattlestick, to do music or to do a reading of a play. I start to collect things, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not intentionally. I start collecting, maybe it's phrases or bits of information or a melody that keeps showing up in my head over and over again. So there's like a collection phase in my process. And then there's a kind of, there starts to become like an organizing of what I've collected. And sometimes that organizing takes an afternoon, sometimes it takes, several months. It honestly depends on whenever I have to show up and share it with people, which is why that part in the process is so important for me. So somehow, in between those two parts of the process, there's a lot of generating that gets done. There's a lot of writing that happens. And I'm not someone who sits down every day and writes. It just kind of happens while I'm on the train, or I'm talking to a friend and I see, a street sign that makes me think about something. So I always have a notebook or my phone so that I can capture it. So then I organize it, and then I share it with people, and I find out what's resonating, what I like, what others like, and I go back, and I start to sort of reshape it often and keep working and working until the thing becomes itself. So that's my process. And I find process to be really fascinating. And
hot fire always on, ready to burn up the place, never gonna damp me out. I will combust through your walls and make a case for the cause. Did I tell you to let go of me? I am kerosene, don't come for me. I am kerosene, don't come for me. Burn like gasoline, don't come for me. Don't come for me, don't come for me. I am kerosene, don't come for me. I am kerosene, don't come for me. Burn like gasoline, don't come for me. Don't come for me. can't be wrong. When the place goes up in flames, never gonna turn it around. No, ash can't be made undone. A little war is won, destroy a resolution. I am kerosene, don't come for me. I am kerosene, don't come for me. Burn like gasoline, don't come for me. Don't come for me, don't come for me. I am kerosene, don't come for me. I am kerosene, don't come for me. Burn like gasoline, don't come for me. Don't come for me, don't come for me. I am
Okay, so singers I like. Well, I think that there's people that I know whose work that I really admire. Imani Uzuri comes to mind, and I think she refers to herself as, I believe, like a cultural maker, and her singing and her composition is really driven by spirit and soul, and carrying forward the Black tradition in various ways, and thinking about the divine feminine and all of these things that I think are often embedded in the work of Black women but are not always the forefront, and she brings that forward. So definitely her. I'm really digging on a couple of my peers right now, Michelle Rodriguez and Dipali Gupta. And then I've also been getting into the music of Laura Mbula. Somebody told me I needed to listen to her, and I've been listening to her. She's an Afro-British woman, I believe, whose music just really touches me deeply. And she works a lot, kind of, I think, in between fields, like working in theater, but also working in music. And that's something that I'm really interested in my career, is kind of how I can cross these boundaries that we're so intent on keeping. How I can like make a record and also write a play, and how those two things can fold in on top of one another and blend. Yeah, and then of course, you know, I have to mention Beyonce, because the way she does what she does is just truly remarkable. To be able to crystallize so much thought into pop lyric is really hard, and I just really admire the way her career has grown and how she has grown, and really I think dug deep inside of herself to still make music that reaches the masses and that the masses want to hear, that also has a very rooted message. So her and her sister Solange, both are doing awesome things. So those are the people who come to mind right now. All women of color. That's not a mistake.
How am I doing on time? How am I doing? I'm doing okay? All right, so then I'll play the song I wrote about whiteness. I was gonna skip it in case I was running out of time, because whiteness is always taking up time, but I will play it. It's also from Skin Folk, an American show, and it's called Ruler. And this is an approximation of the chords, but it works. Okay. Oops, those aren't the chords. Ruler. Oh, right. can do it. Okay. Thank you for supporting women. Why are you so elusive? Keeping me close, then making me go away. What is it that makes you feel so damn special? What makes you think you push me around? I don't know why you think you have control over me. Why are you so exclusive? What makes you think you can just jump right through? What makes you take up all the oxygen? I wish I knew so that I could do the same. I wish I knew so that I had whatever it is you're smoking, whatever it is you're drinking, whatever it is that has you thinking you rule the world. You rule the world.
So I think for me, how writing and singing and acting fit together is somewhere along the way, I started being much more interested in my authentic expression and not really concerned about what it was looking like in terms of what form it was taking, whether it was acting or whether it was writing or whether it was singing. And I think that everything kind of connects in some way for me through language. And words. I think of words as really sacred things, and they can be. I think that's kind of my way into each of those things in different ways. But then I don't know that that's true because something might be guided by a melody, let's say, or a chant or something. So, I don't really know how they all converge other than that they just they're each parts of me that I feel called to share, and the process dictates what that looks like. So I think underneath it, I'm much more invested in process and invested in what is it that I am being called to say, and figuring that path out is usually the most frustrating and rewarding work that I do. So.